So I know it's set up for nitrous. Where do we keep the bottle?
So that's kind of an interesting one. So we wanted to mount it center and low, so we actually took the passenger seat out of the car.
Holy sh!
We mounted it right there.
What's going on, you guys? Charlie and Dalen here with another episode of MAPTV. Today, I get to learn a little bit about our 10th gen Civic Si. You know, the one that did all the record-breaking stuff.
Yeah! Hell yeah!
Since I know literally nothing about it, I figured I'd let Dalen give me the full rundown.
I know lots of stuff about it, so that works out really well.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so I mean, we obviously already have the hood popped here. So this car changes pretty frequently. So this is kind of the setup as of today. And that can change tomorrow, it can change next week, depending on what we're doing with the car. It's kind of been behind the scenes for a little bit, so there's been nothing that we've shared too much, nothing super exciting with it. As you can see, the car in current form has our turbo kit on it. So this started out as kind of an idea for us. We really wanted to rotate the turbo so that the inlet side was facing the same side as the intake, whereas factory and some of the other aftermarket kits comes all the way over top and has to cut in. Just not ideal for airflow and packaging. So we wanted to try this, and it's worked out well for us, for both packaging and for just kind of all-out performance for what we've been doing with the car. It also looks unique, so that's kind of another aesthetically pleasing part,
right.
And it makes some of the install a little bit more easy. So moving on from our custom turbo kit, this is actually the built motor in the car. So if anybody followed along with what we were doing last year, we had a stock motor in the car for most of the season. So the 1080 pass was made on a factory motor. And towards the end of the summer, I don't remember exactly what month at this point, it's kind of all blended together.
Sure.
We lost that motor when kind of looking for a little bit more power out of it, got a little bit crazy.
And that's the one that got turned into trophies.
Yep, that one got turned into trophies. We sent that out to a few of the companies that have helped us with the car, just kind of a thank you.
Thank you to our sponsors.
Shout out to our big old saw that helped me cut that engine into like 8 pieces. So this motor was a lot of prototype parts, one of the first motors, if not the first motor that had the CSS block guard or cylinder support system in it.
Okay.
So just a lot of uniques on this motor, but then we expected the factory motor to blow up right away, which it never did. So we made it like almost 2 full seasons on that motor. Built motor back in it. Car went back on the dyno, made some power. We've made a lot of small changes. At that point in time, we had a Garrett GTX 35 on the car. And now we just recently swapped back to a 28, and we have some prototype fuel system components on the car. So that is a modified fuel pump that we've been testing. Right now, it's being very promising. We're showing about 400 wheel horsepower on a basically factory fuel system outside of that pump, which before we were limited at about 350-ish, really pushing it. So aftermarket fuel pump, trying that, hopefully have some more data on that soon for something we can kind of offer to customers. But other than that, Hasport engine mounts just to kind of keep things from moving. You can kind of see right here, we had a notch for the larger turbo.
Yeah.
Obviously room for the smaller one, but big one had to kind of be moved around a bit. Kind of quickly there, the nitrous outlet system. So we run a direct port system in this on our spacer in there for the fuel injectors for port injection. And we built a nitrous into that system. Okay. Right now the car currently isn't running it because we've been running it in a more stock form. But yeah, stock ECU on the car. We still run with a K-Tuner V2. Okay. We use the V2 just because of at the racetrack, it's nice to be able to have live updates from the screen and be able to swap maps right there. Yeah. But yeah, the turbo kit you see here is basically our production unit. This is the second version of it, so it has a couple small changes, some things that have been updated on it, but a lot more sensor bungs that wouldn't be on the production units, but everything else is factory. We have our coolant hoses on this kit, so that's kind of a unique part that most of the kits only have the 2 hoses. Ours replaces all 3. Okay. Yeah, honestly, but the rest of it's fairly stock. Like the car itself, although it sounds complex, is really not all that crazy. Fuel lines and everything come up are stock right now. Sure. And then we have a launch control device that's wired into our clutch. Okay. It's not plugged in right now, but we use that to basically dull the hit off the line. Yeah. It's a clutch slipper for the most part, so that works really well to kind of have a more consistent launch. Clutch-wise, we run a Clutchmasters FX 725 twin disc in the car right now. Okay. We've been through, I'm tried a lot of clutches. Before we jumped into that one, we ran about 2 or 3 single plate style clutches and just kind of were going through them pretty fast. Transmission currently is stock. We actually have back inside our transmission that we had custom built from Sands. Sands Gears actually made it's a 1st through 4th gear set for us. So we have that installed, ready to go. Once we get this car kind of through the current testing phases, we're gonna put that transmission in the car. You can see the top hats. Obviously, this is all the stuff from Fortune Auto still for the coilovers. We have kind of our drag wing on the back, kind of a standard just to kind of help the air kind of come around the back of the car. It also looks neat, not gonna lie. You know, just the styling of it was kind of the interesting part, and to try it out and see if it helps us as we took the factory wing off the car. Other than that, the vehicle's super simple. Like most of the technology that's gone into it is engine bay kind of electronics. When we run port injection, we run an AEM EMS4 to control all that. And use that for data logging and everything on the car, but
yeah.
I mean,
so I know it's set up for nitrous. Where do we keep the bottle?
So that's kind of an interesting one. So we wanted to mount it center and low, so we actually took the passenger seat out of the car.
Holy sh!
We mounted it right there. Some of the wiring stuff is about to be redone, so it looks a little loose right now. As we ran pressure gauge and a bottle heater for it, and then the blowdown tube is not your standard blowdown tube, but there's an OEM hole that's right there, and we wanted to not drill any more holes in the vehicle, so we just ran the blowdown tube right through that OEM hole. And then we do run a staging brake. So I have a background in a lot of building drift cars, and ASD always made some of the neatest handbrakes for the cars. And I just really liked it as a staging brake, so we run one of those. So it's an ASD. They utilize a lot of Willwood components in it and a lot of their own proprietary components. But yeah, so the bottle's mounted low and center, and on the other side of the bottle, you might not be able to see it, but it's a fire extinguisher. Try to keep that as close to the driver as possible for if something happens. Yeah, it's still factory seat, factory steering wheel, factory components in there. Yeah, no, it's I
mean, that's a huge bottle of nitrous.
Yeah, a 10-pound bottle. We actually haven't been able to run the car down the track with nitrous yet.
Oh, really?
So all of the records last year were all set on just turbo setup.
Oh, no kidding.
We were doing some initial idea with the nitrous was when we put the GT35 on the car, it was used as spool. And it actually worked so well, and the motor was so happy on it that we decided to see if we could make some power with it too. And it was responding so well to it that we just kept turning it up. And since we had already kind of decided that we were comfortable with blowing the motor up, I think that, don't hold me to this, it's been a little while now, but I want to say the car was on boost, it was about 500, 550. And I think when it went, we had another roughly probably 150, 200 horsepower worth of nitrous on top of it.
Jesus.
Now, if everything was going right at that point, were we actually making that power? I don't think so, but the engine was just consuming enough air to make that, make that jetting work for us. So yeah, no, actually we're really excited. So once we're done testing with the small turbo and more stock fuel system side of stuff, we'll go back to the big turbo. We'll turn the nitrous up and see what we can do with the car. Obviously the season kind of was a little bit of I won't say it was a bust for us, because it allowed us to kind of pivot and do a lot of other different stuff that we didn't have on the docket as far as the Supra goes. Now that the tracks are starting to open back up and we have time to work on the car again, I'm excited to see what we can make happen with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly just excited to be here for that. It's just such a cool project to be a part of, and I've seen some of the videos, but I haven't had a chance to just sit down and plug into them for a while. It's been cool to get caught up and then kind of look forward to what we potentially would be doing with this.
Absolutely. No, and for me, this is kind of it's just such a fun project. This is my background. This is what I kind of come from doing. So it's just it's fun to flex these muscles a little bit every once in a while. When a lot of our core products don't kind of land on the more race car market. So this is the way that we prove the products, and then when we make them more on the customer side, it's kind of that race on Sunday, sell on Monday type.
Well, I don't know. What do you say we run this thing in and get a look under it on the lift?
We can get this thing on the lift and kind of look on the underside of it. So it's actually fairly basic setup. So for wheel goes, we run a Belloc beadlock wheel. So this is a 15x9, and then beadlock, it's a very specific offset perfectly for the 10th gens. I think we're one of the few dealers that can get this. So if anybody's looking for it, we can absolutely get them for them. But yeah, it's M&H slick. We've gone back and forth between M&H, Mickey Thompson. We've tried a couple here. The M&H has worked best for us. It's a super lightweight wheel. If you were trying to pick that up really quick.
Oh yeah, no kidding. It's actually really light.
Super light, super strong. Obviously very drag racing specific, so it's not something that we We normally store the car with the stock wheels on it.
Sure.
As far as brakes go, so these are 8th gen base front brakes.
Okay.
So
Why'd we go with those?
smaller. So the standard SI brakes can only fit a 17-inch wheel over top of it. And I think I actually said that wrong. So these are 8th gen SI brakes, not base.
Okay.
So just wheel size. So we can fit a 15 over this, which allowed us to go to a little bit more tire, a little bit less shock load on the drivetrain, just kind of helped everything overall.
That makes sense.
I'm getting dirty. I look like I work on stuff.
Yeah, right.
As for coilovers, we have Fortunato 510s in here, but these are kind of custom built to our specifications for what we wanted out of the car.
Okay.
So a little bit stiffer in the rear, a little bit different valving in the front, just to try to prevent the car from shifting backwards for the most part. Otherwise, we have Goodrich brake lines, fairly normal brake pads, a standard OE style brake rotor. Yeah, I mean, the car in this aspect is actually super simple. Control arms, once we go up a little farther, show we have them boxed in. Yeah, it's a really loud day today. But the control arms are boxed in because we were having some issues with some flex that we perceived issues with flex, so we wanted to see if those actually prevented it. So between the boxing control arms and a ProFlex bushing, it's stiffened up the front a little bit, but once again, super simple stuff. It's still an OE control arm, OE ball joints, and bolt-in suspension stuff, so nothing overall too crazy. Right. And then in the rear, once again, it's another Belloc wheel. It's just a skinny wheel in the back with a Mickey Thompson skinny. And then we run a combination of white line and Eibach for control arms for camber arm and toe arm, just to kind of help us dial in that suspension, get the wheel as straight as possible under load.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can kind of lift the car up and look at a couple things on the bottom side. Yeah, so underneath the car kind of follows the same principle. This is all fairly stock. Exhaust is our normal catback. Okay. Our turbo kit actually mates to it, just like our exhaust would. Yep. Factory oil pan, all of our downpipe for the turbo kit. You can kind of see the actual bracing on the control arm. So these are normally open. Yeah. It's a stamp steel. Right. So with the plate, it just helps it from twisting a lot. A lot of force coming into that system. Sure. When we launch the car. Right. Goal is always make it go as straight as possible. So anything that we can remove from the flexing equation is wonderful. Yeah. That's not going anywhere. In the rear, we kind of talked about it. So we have white line for toe, Eibach for camber, Fortunato for the actual coilover itself. Our exhaust with our axle back on it, obviously. But yeah, the rear of the car is actually still super, super simple. Yeah. Factory brake calipers and everything in the back. So there's kind of some remnants from some of the testing stuff on here. We switch fuel systems pretty often on this car. Okay. So anything from the complete system where we would get rid of the filter in the basket. So there's still, this is one of the aftermarket filters. Okay. And then this is a line that's kind of just in there for testing that we don't normally run it with. So it's kind of run a little bit haphazardly. Sure. Just because we're kind of in between a bunch of stuff. So yeah, coming up here, we don't really have too much more to talk about with the car today. Right. It's surprisingly simple. But
simple but effective, right?
Exactly, it works. And the goal is to keep it kind of relatable for customers. Now that we've kind of shown you guys everything we have going on here, hopefully we have some more updates soon. We're gonna kind of get back to working on this car a little bit more here in the next coming week. Yeah. Now that tracks are starting to open up and some of the product stuff that we've been working on with it and some of the other cars are almost done, this thing hopefully goes back on the dyno here soon for some kind of updates that hopefully we're excited to share with everybody on some other products we're testing. So. Yeah.
Well, and it was really cool for me to get the full rundown on this car because everything that was done with this was done before I was ever even working here. So for me, it's just been cool to go through this and see what we did to it and how we had so much success.
Absolutely.
But anyways, guys, if you're looking for more content like this, make sure you subscribe to our channel and leave us a big old thumbs up on this video if you haven't already. But that's gonna wrap it up for today. We'll see you guys next week's episode. Peace out.